Hey, what's going on there, folks? Good evening. It is the Earthmaster back here on this Saturday night. Hope everyone's having a enjoyable weekend, 3-day weekend there, hopefully. September 2nd, 2023. It's about 10:09 p.m. here, California time. Latest activity of 1.8 on the Big Island of Hawaii. Still seeing some movement, though, here around the Mount St. Helens area. Looks like we're looking at a return of some earthquake activity, including a couple upper ones from, looks like just after midnight. Looks like they added those on after the fact. I don't think I've seen those earlier this morning during the update. But either way, some earthquake activity still ramping up there around the Mount St. Helens area. This is the last 24 hours of earthquake activity. Now, this graph here is part of the USGS volcano hazards. I was using the trimmer map from the PNSN, or not the trimmer map, but the PNSN seismic network here with their seismic monitoring station. But I don't think this one's showing as much earthquake activity as the other one from the USGS. I'll show you here in a second what I mean. There's some of that earthquake activity popping up. All of these little spikes in the last few hours, earthquakes. And of course, it's not really reliable here on the PNSN network. So we're clicking on the seismograph station here at Mount St. Helens, SEP station. And it still looks like there's quite a bit of earthquake activity ramping up here at the Volcano in Washington. Now, can't say exactly for sure how big all of these are, but you know, it looks a lot more than what's being reported here across the map. So this 1.5 was about 8 o'clock this morning. Let me get a UTC time on that and see if we can find it on that chart, which is going to be around 1549. So, well, this looks like it's local time. So what time was that? About 8 o'clock or so? Well, it's not 4 o'clock in the morning, so this has got to be 1545. One of these quakes. Kind of hard to tell. It says GMT up here. Either way, there's definitely quite a bit of earthquake activity from what I can see here occurring still at Mount St. Helens. I'm going to have to start checking this seismograph station more often. If you're watching the live stream, I'm sure you guys probably seen a couple spikes out there around Mount St. Helens earlier today on that live stream. I'm not going to be picking up every single earthquake, but this one sure does. It looks like there's quite a bit kicking up here, and that's at right at the area that's seen the earthquake swarm. Now there is you know, some gas emissions up here that we can check. We're not really seeing anything elevated far as the carbon dioxide measurements go in the last couple days with the swarm. More so back in August, but even then, not a huge amount of the carbon dioxide emissions. And there's also some, what do we got here? Carbon dioxide, water vapor, sulfur dioxide is another one. Although it looks like, this one here is showing a little bit more on the sulfur dioxide. These are these plots, the little measurement bubbles, so to speak. And it looks like here, at least in the last, when did the swarm kind of kick up? It's been about a few days now. It kind of looks like this has kicked up there at Mount St. Helens with the sulfur dioxide since that swarm began. So this is a little interesting here. I really haven't heard anybody speak out on it as far as a professional goes. Hydrogen sulfide looks about even. No major elevated movements here on that chart. Sulfur dioxide. So I'm just kind of watching it. Again, the majority of this earthquake activity is extremely small. A lot of these seismograph stations are not even working. And GPS is kind of hard to get as well, far as a station that actually works in this area. Here's a little bit of a GPS measurement. I am not 100% certain why this is still at 2020. But you know, I'm not in charge of that, so I really can't say anything about it, I guess. 2020 is there as well. So the only thing that we really have to look at is just the seismograph stations. And there's this seismograph station here is a little ways away from the complete, well, from the area that's seen that swarm, but still somewhat within that range. Which one did I just click on? Was it this top one? The vault? No, it wasn't the vault. Got to get back here to where I was at. GPS. Was it this one over here on the eastern? Yeah, on the eastern side here. Still seeing that movement show up there. So we know that there's definitely some earthquake activity happening straight up at the crater area or the summit area of Mount St. Helens. Definitely a lot more, folks, than what's being shown on the USGS map there. See if this one's working. This one's not really picking up too much earthquake activity. It looks like a little bit here in the last 24 hours, but most of it appears to be centered definitely right at this summit region. So we'll continue to watch that. It's still at a status of green. Again, nobody's really updated anything on it. I haven't really heard anything from anyone about it. So I don't know how many people are out there on YouTube are reporting about this, but kind of sparked my interest here, seeing some type of earthquake swarm at the Mount St. Helens volcano. Of course, we'll continue to watch that and report back on it should anything change here. For now, earthquake activity continues there. Also a little bit of movement across the Cascades west of Mount Rainier. And just a couple hours ago, we had an earthquake outside of Seattle, 2.1 near Greenwood. About 30 kilometers deep. Could be associated with potentially, I'm not for sure if it's going to be the Seattle fault up here. It's kind of off the Seattle fault north, but 30 kilometers or so could be some type of thrust fault system up there. Of course, the Cascadia does sit off here as well, so might have something to do with that. Let me check the tremor map tonight and see what we have. For tremor, 93 epicenters of tremor, not a big deal. A little bit there in Northern California and also up around the Vancouver Island ranges. All right, earthquake activity further down south here. There's one little earthquake early this morning, 2.0. Outside of Eureka. As far as the Bay Area goes, noticing a little bit of movement here along the San Andreas Fault that runs through San Francisco. Mostly smaller microquakes, but it is showing some movement here along the plate boundary. Inland on the North American side of that plate boundary, fairly quiet. Only a handful of smaller quakes there on the Calaveras Fault Zone. And Southern California for now, looking pretty quiet. Not a whole lot shaking down there currently across the portion of the state down there. 1.5. Huntington Beach. That earthquake from last night just about ready to drop off. At 24-hour map. Yellowstone, well, nothing going on the map here, but we got to double check here. We definitely have to double check for ourselves these days in terms of what's shaking. I'm still kind of puzzled on what this earthquake is here. You can see it showing up on the graph. Let me see if they added anything up here. It doesn't look like it. I'm still not 100% certain what that is. Let me get a timestamp on this. So UTC time of looks like about 1820 or so, 1825 UTC time. I just want to see what was up here around 1825 UTC time. Locally, like I say, I don't think there was too much activity over there. 1825. But you guys see what I'm talking about? It's this little reading, this little blip that showed up here across, actually showed up across a good portion of the seismographs here at Yellowstone. I'm wanting to say that maybe it's around the eastern segment of the park, but I don't think so. I just think this station here, Parker Peak, is tuned, amplified a little bit more, so to speak. But the signature is roughly about the same type of signal all across the general area of the park. So that leads me to believe that this is a distant earthquake somewhere. I don't think it was this one here. No. Anyway, I'm not gonna spend too much time on there, but it just goes to show you that there's always some earthquake activity that's not being reported out there at all. I don't know if that showed up on the GeoNet servers. Let me double check the EMSC model here real quick. See if anything's kicking up here. What is this? 2.1. That's not where I'm clicking. I'm clicking. Whoa. See, that's kind of weird. I keep getting these weird interference things, interference stuff happening, and this doesn't happen when I'm not doing an update. It just happens here when I'm doing an update. It's really weird. So I'm after this earthquake here. See that? 3.8, Queen Charlotte Sound area. That was it was earlier today. But I was just trying to find out, see what that blip is on the Yellowstone overview, but I just don't see it. I'm really not seeing it. So we'll have to see if they add it on here in the coming days. But okay, but as far as earthquake activity locally here to the Yellowstone region, a handful of smaller quakes in the last 8 hours or so. It looks like very small quakes, but still goes to show you there's some earthquake activity and nada, zip zero being reported there at the could my mouse be cursed? I don't know. It's wanting to take me all over the place, but I don't know. I don't think that was my mouse, because that literally changed a page. It went to GeoNet servers, and it was just, it's weird. I don't know what's going on there. Okay, but speaking of GeoNet, down in the New Zealand area, I'm not really seeing anything showing up here. The last earthquake was from late last night, that 3.8. As far as the felt reports go, there's always going to be some type of earthquake activity. Maybe a 4.2, it looks like. Kermadec Trench, about 12 kilometers deep or so, and some other smaller quake activity across the New Zealand area. Let's see if we can see that 4-pointer. There it is, showing up here in the last hour or so. Now, what was that? 4.2 looks fairly shallow there on the on that graph, but for the most part, yeah, just still the graphs look pretty quiet down here. All right, but either way, I think we are noticing a little bit of trend down here. If we're getting to 4.2 down here now, that means that we're working our way down across the plate boundary far as migration goes. Earlier today, we still did see a little bit of earthquake activity, pretty deep, getting into the Kermadec Trench here. The latest one, though, 4.5 up around the Tonga Trench, about 400 kilometers deep. Up around the Papua New Guinea area, most of this activity from earlier this morning. Starting to notice a halt here across the Java Trench region again, with back building of momentum and pressure, so to speak. So definitely keep the New Zealand there in mind. Right now, looks pretty quiet. Look at the Yellowstone offline. How long has that been offline? I'm guessing for maybe a minute or two. Probably longer than that. I'll see if I can't fix that, get that going. All right, up here across Japan area, most of these earthquakes here from early this morning, and one from late last night. No further movement, though, across the subduction zone. Over here across the Afghanistan area and Iran, a couple earthquakes from last night and today. The latest one of 4.1, eastern Afghanistan. In fact, that border over there around Pakistan, showing a little bit of deeper movement taking place. 4.1 up here, pretty deep. And looks like, what do we got going on out here with a 4.6 earthquake off of the, where is that? Let's see here. It's along that plate boundary. Come on, there we go. Double check and see where this is at. Now, oh, let's go back to the world map. Hold on a second here. Maybe it's an EMSC that's messing up. Okay, that's going to be this earthquake out here around the Azores. It looks like east of there, near the St. Vincent Ridge area. 35 kilometers deep. A couple other earthquakes out here as well, it looks like. So some movement kicking up out along this plate boundary. That could definitely amplify conditions across the Mediterranean. We'll keep an eye on that throughout the coming days. One earthquake up here around Iceland, a 4.2, right on the plate boundary it looks like, or just, yeah, maybe right off of it. About 10 kilometers deep. The rest of the Atlantic Ocean pretty quiet for now. The South America region, a handful of earthquakes from earlier this morning. The latest, though, at 4.4, well underneath Bolivia, 215 kilometers deep for that quake. Puerto Rico Trench here, still seeing their little swarming out here around the southwestern edge. The Big Island, anything brewing out here? So Kilauea Volcano stirring back up? Hard to say. Most of these, the depth of these earthquakes are very consistent of how they have been over the past week or two. It doesn't look like we're seeing any further migration up towards the surface with these earthquakes. The latest information statement here from the HVO Kilauea Daily Update that's put out today. It is not erupting. The elevated unrest is due to the earthquake activity, but that's about it. Most of these quakes occurring about 1 to 2 miles below the surface, lacking upward migration. Following a 3-day period of inflation, summit tilt meters began tracking steady deflation around 8 a.m. yesterday morning. Let me check, see if we can... I need to create me a shortcut out here for Kilauea Volcano. I know I do. I'm just one of those people. I have a bunch of windows open. I'm always looking at various things. A lot of stuff. Let's go here to the instruments. I just want to check out the tilt meters out here, the UWE. There's that deflation, a sharp deflation right here. Notice that? This here indicating from what was inflation down to that deflation level. Looks like we may be coming right back up a little bit here. That could be what's going on. As far as magma movement underneath the surface, we are seeing a little bit of elevated earthquake activity here in the last couple hours. So could be things getting on the move again. We'll watch for that overnight. Alaska area, looks like a typical day up there for now. All right, space weather. Let's jump into space weather, see what we got. We got a blackout occurring right now that occurs every 24 hours or so, right? It's either the moon or the Earth, something getting in the way of the data from the spacecraft out there. But yeah, that one's blacked out. So looks like we did kick up into the KP index of around 5 or so earlier today. Things have since died off slightly. Not really seeing anything major kicking up there across the auroras for now. Yeah, one of these charts here showing that there was potential G2 class storm, but I am not 100% certain if that actually played out or not. This kicked up last night, I believe, late last night, early this morning, because right now things are toning back down slightly, but there is still that G1 class storm possibility remaining through the evening. We'll watch for that, see if this gets elevated or not. And that was from, I believe it was from that CME that blasted off there a couple days ago on the western limb of the sun. Just barely got a glancing blow from this. Eventually, we will get, hit pretty solid with the CME one of these days. It's just a matter of time. All right, flare threat, about 85% chance for a C flare, M flare at 25, X flare around 5% chance. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, goodness. There's not a whole lot of hope and potential out here, folks, with these sunspots. You know, the magnetic structure out here amongst all of these are spread out. They're dissipating hour by hour. And I think the only reason why it's elevated right now for that flare threat is because of maybe this one little sunspot down here. But that's about ready to head off along the western portion of the sun, and it will disappear before our very eyes there. Our eyes, it'll disappear before our eyes. All right, let's see. What else? I'm hoping something will come up here as far as the sunspot activity goes. Right now, we're just in a little decline here as far as space weather activity goes. I did see a little M flare earlier this, well, when was that? That was from yesterday right here. Looks like maybe a little peak of an M flare earlier this morning as well. Very small amount, but that was from that far side sunspot. So just we'll continue to watch it, see if anything kicks up here. Eventually it will not be quiet. All right, California getting that low pressure system and some showers out here, about ready to scoot off into the northern plains area, bringing with it some much cooler temperatures out your way. Not really seeing anything major as far as hurricane development goes on the latest forecast here. And as far as the symbols go, this gives us a good indicator where troughs of low pressure are and areas of ridging high pressure, indicating dry, hot heat. There in the orange, these guys are going to see a little cool down here as that low pressure makes its way over your direction. Looks like more towards average temperatures in your area around the Great Lakes and the northern plains area. Pacific Northwest looking at another trough, bringing in some cooler weather. And then we got some more ridging to worry about out here along the west coast. Looks like that wants to develop here into the Canada region and a little bit out here in the Four Corners. So this is going to bring with it some heat, and I'm hoping that goes away, because I do not like the pattern of boringness, so to speak. Bring me on some rain. I'm not even joking. It's been enjoyable these last couple nights, just keeping the windows open here. Haven't run the air conditioners at all because it's been in the mid 50s at night, and it's only gotten up to I think today we hit about 78. Tomorrow's supposed to be about 80. So very pleasant conditions out here as far as California standards go. But anything major going on out here? Well, it's active, but right now the threats are not anywhere near the states. All right, folks. Have a good night. We'll catch you guys back here tomorrow morning, Sunday. Take care, everyone.